Good early Saturday morning. T-Mot back again for another drive time. You can like it, you can share it. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Never take the light of truth and place it under a basket that shine bright for all to see. Be a lighthouse, a beacon of truth. Anyway, the infrastructure bill passed. And the reason I'm making this video is because it's like some people act like this is new news. I just heard Dan Bongino going on about, RINOs and his golden rule. I like the guy, but the reason most of those people get to be on Fox and all of these other places, conservative shows, is because they are not allowed to name names. They are not allowed to talk about who the RINOs are. I've been doing this for a decade, telling you that we're being sold a bill of goods by the Republican establishment. So what happens? They passed $1.5 trillion bill. And there is one bit of good news. I'll give you that at the end. But essentially, the Democrats could have only lost 3 votes if every Republican had voted against the bill. Well, they lost 6. That's right, the squad. The usual suspects, Cortez, Ilhan, and Tlaib, and 3 other individuals. They voted against the infrastructure bill, mainly because they didn't like that the information about social justice that wasn't all wrapped into this one bill: social reform, immigration, et cetera, health care, stuff for the veterans, blah, 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 blah. Well, that was just merely a show for them. You want to know why? Because 13 RINOs voted for it. 13. So it didn't matter about them losing 6. And losing 3 was never really an issue. And I'm telling you, somebody went to those RINOs, unknowns to me. Okay, look, your turn is at bat now. You got to step up and make sure that this bill passes. Those of you that have followed me have seen my post. You've heard me talk about the circle of loot. Starts at the top of the circle with the 1%ers and ends up back around with the 1%ers. And the gist of it is, it does not matter who wins, Republican or Democrat. You always lose, and they always win. Doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. They are going to get what they want, pass what they want. And I've asked this question, posted it many times on my Facebook wall and Twitter. Name one single Republican, excluding Trump, that has stopped anything in D.C. since the first Bush. Any damnable deeds? None. Now, there were things, the easy stuff that would come out of the gate, like gun control issues or freedom of speech issues here or there, but we lose incrementally in those areas, just like they have been incrementally screwing us with the Federal Reserve since 1913. So the money really was never an issue with this infrastructure bill, because if you understood how the Federal Reserve scam works, you'd know that they had to pass something. Why? Because if they didn't, our economy would cave immediately, because it's built on a Ponzi scheme. All right? So, but I've talked about that before. Many people just don't get it, don't understand it. They rail about 1.3, 3.5. All of the money is irrelevant, because they're printing it out of thin air, loaning it back, loaning it to the government, okay? And the recipients of it, they get the benefit and the profit, and the American taxpayer gets the debt. That's how the system works. And the 1%ers, man, they sit back fat, dumb, and happy as wealth is transferred from the people into their control, into their banks, into their pockets, however you want to look at it. So that's another story. That's another story that I'm not even going to try and get into. So don't focus on the money. Focus on the circle of loot and how this thing operates. The only solace coming from this is that illegals did not become legal yet. They have not been made legal yet. But I suspect that is on the horizon. Why? Because of the 2024 elections. Now, everybody is talking about the voting machines, et cetera, et cetera. Understand something. Both parties use that system to keep their people in office and put their people in office. All right? Both of them. Why do you think the resistance against trying to show that there were election irregularities? What is it that they always say? If you have nothing to hide, then you should not have a problem with us searching, because you got no problem. You know, I got pulled over by a police officer. I thought he was pulling me over for speeding, but he wasn't. When I pulled over and found out that it was something else, dude said, may I search your car? I said, no, you may not. Oh, come on, man. Just no, get a warrant. But you're not searching my car. He did not search my car and sent me on my way. So it's not about whether I had anything to hide or not. He was violating the law. He was violating the law. So these people, they don't want you to see, because they know that they violated the law. And if you were to search and see, you would find out. But their case was not like mine. It was the government using the unconstitutional search to come at me. Everybody that tried to investigate election irregularities did so by legal means. Video surveillance, testimony, sworn affidavits, lawsuits, going before the court, and all to no avail. And there were resistance from Republicans in the red states, many of the red states. Georgia is one of them, Kemp being one of those governors that did not want to put that out. And if you don't think something was irregular about Kemp and Kelly Loeffler, and I knew people that would say, yeah, well, you know, we can't allow Warnock and Ossoff, whatever the other guy, I think that's his name, we can't allow them to win. So you think that your saving grace is going to be Loeffler and Perdue? Hell no. What did Loeffler do on January 6th? Back the hell up off of supporting Trump on calling for, you know, the decertification of those election results. But had they allowed the people to see, and this is just a simple question, do you not think that had they allowed the people to see, to investigate what actually happened, and they found nothing, anybody would have had a problem with it? Well, I know I would not have. I certainly would have. Only fools that believe that 5G cell towers was causing corona would probably not get it. Or those that followed QAnon, or whatever you want to call it, about JFK was going to show up, you know, on the anniversary of his death or birthday. At any rate, whole bunch of nonsense out there. You got people out there that are like that. They just aren't going to get it no matter what. But had they allowed the investigations to proceed unfettered and allowed us to get the answers, whether it was in our favor or not, reasonable people would have shut up. But they didn't want you to get that information because they knew what had happened. I know I digressed big time, went all around the mountain, using that as an example to get you to understand how the circle of loot is maintained by the complicitness of both Democrats and Republicans. And I'll tell you what Bongino's golden rule was: no Democrats are Republicans, but there are Republicans that are actually Democrats. But guess what? That ain't news. I've been calling them RINOs for a decade. So, you know, get on board. Start naming the names. And yeah, people don't like it when I say this. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to shut up. What has Rand Paul stopped? Nothing. Fauci is still in office. What has Thomas Massey stopped? Nothing. None of the few conservatives that are actually up there have stopped anything. The only Republican that stopped some things, and there were two flaws in his administration, and I'm going to say it, and there's some people that aren't going to like it. The only person that stopped anything was Donald Trump. But the flaw number one is when Donald Trump realized that most of his agenda, he only got three major things passed. Tax reform, he undid segregation, Jim Crow Joe's crime bill, and he worked on, he got us a new trade deal. And he, of course, he was going after China, and that's when all the stops got pulled, okay, to get rid of Trump. He had to go, and that was a determination from both sides. So the flaw number one was he didn't get most of the things that he ran on past because the Republicans did not back him, and he did not expose them for the RINOs that they were. How many Republicans that Trump personally endorsed? Mitt Romney, okay, Lindsey Graham. I can go on and down the list. Hiring William Barr, that ultimately stabbed him in his back. Like it or not, I'm sorry, but that was a flaw, all right? And it was easy to identify who the RINOs were. All you had to do was look at their Constitution voting records, but nobody ever does. And what was the second flaw? Doing things by executive order. And I was saying when he got started and I saw that that was going to be the trend, I said if he does not win in 2020, we will be in trouble because every executive order that he has passed will be undone. And that is exactly what happened when Joe Biden got in office. Hell, he spent the first month signing EOs, getting rid of Trump's executive orders, and they were executive orders that William Barr put together for him. I don't know why this stuff is so hard for people to understand and for them to grasp. And what happened with this $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill that they just passed, those 13 RINOs, this is nothing new about what they do. Nothing. And nobody stopped it. So, yeah, well, let's give those that that did vote against it, the Republicans that did vote against it, let's pat them on the back. I don't pat people on the back that never win. I remember Donald Trump saying, what have you ever won? You're a loser. They are losers. All of them are losers. Yes, Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, they make great theater. They expose some things, tell you about some things. What does it amount to? Again, Fauci is still in place. Mandates are still being put out all around the country. Now, I talked about this, I think, in my last video, the guy that won in Virginia and the black guy that won in, I think it's Buffalo, I believe. He was a write-in candidate. Let's see if those mandates in those places stop. God, I hope that they do stop. But if they don't stop, then what are you going to do? What are you going to say then? You damn sure as hell won't say, well, you know what, TMOT was right again, because you won't want to admit it. Because, you know, one guy got mad because I dared to say, if the mandates don't stop, you will have been a victim of the circle of loot once again, and even more of a fool because Rand Paul endorsed the guy. I said if. I qualified that statement, but somebody got upset and had a problem with me posted, and I had to remind him, this is my wall. If you don't like it, piss off. You don't have to be here, but I'm going to say what needs to be said, because you know what? One day, my words, all the videos that I have put out there and been telling people, man, this stuff will be gold to people once they have lost all of their freedoms. Okay, and look, I hope that it does not happen, but I understand the book of Revelation. And I understand the words of Christ. Hey, these things must come to pass. And that's the road that we are headed down. And if you can't see that, I don't know if I talked about it. Putin has a video that he put out, and DeSantis has a video that he put out. I said the two should be companion videos. Putin, another country's leader is talking about what we are doing over here in our country as it relates to destroying family. You can't call breast milk anymore. You got to say human milk, because now men can identify as females. Kids messing their lives up, things that could upend their lives for the rest of their lives, okay? Because people are telling them, oh, it's just as easy for you to become a boy as it is for you to become a girl. This is a leader of another country talking about what's going on over here, and not about our wars. He didn't even get into any of that. The man was talking about how we are destroying family in our country. How Hollywood, I got a friend named Zelle calls it Hollywood, how they're indoctrinating our children. Hell, I just saw something. I said, I'm done with DC. Star-Lord, they're going to make him bisexual. I mean, where does it end? With our destruction. That's where. When the family is of no more account. And I posted a meme from Malcolm X. Malcolm X said, only a fool will let his enemy teach his children. Well, that is exactly, and back then the context of that statement was racists that were teaching black people, black children, and Malcolm X felt like we should be teaching our own children. But take that same statement and you can apply this new context to it. We have sexual deviants, we have mental cases, and we have socialists teaching in and governing our school boards. Those are our enemies, and they are teaching our children. Thank God mine are all grown, and I pulled mine out of public school and sent them to private school. So, I saw the handwriting on the wall and 2 decades ago, and had to make a move. Once my kids got out of middle school, that was it. It became private school for high school, because what these schools are teaching these children nowadays, man, is unthinkable. I went longer than I had intended to, but I just wanted to circle back around on this infrastructure bill and hopefully get you to see the bigger picture. Those 13 were called upon to do what they needed to do to ensure that bill could pass. Those 6 Democrats that didn't vote for it, trying to make a statement about the parts that got left out. And the worst piece of all of that would have been making those illegals legal, because they won't need the voting machine scam the next time around. All right, I'm done. T-Mod out. Drive time till next time. Peace.